So my name is Carlos Walker, and this is Art and Hustle, Black Authors Matter. Today we're with Miss Dr. Lisa Sistrunk. How you doing, Miss?
I am doing great, Carlos. How are you?
Oh man, life is perfect. So before we start, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Dr. Lisa. That's why I often go by Dr. Lisa, and I am a life coach of 16 to 30-year-olds, and I mentor coach 10 to 15-year-old girls. Everything that I do is based on self-awareness and self-acceptance so that they can make better decisions as they go through the different transitions in life. I currently live just south of Atlanta in Georgia, and let's see, I guess I've been here about 30 years, and I love what I do. I love connecting with people, meeting people where they are, and helping them get to the next level. So
Mm,
that is who I am and what I do.
thank you for what you do.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
you're an author. If
Yes,
you
sir.
will, share what your book is about and the inspiration behind it.
Okay, so my book is called Her 12th Year, She's Not So Little Anymore. It's a coaching guide for raising healthy tween girls. And this book came about because my daughter, who I can't believe is going to be 31 in a few weeks, when she was, yes, when she was 11, and she was just getting into middle school. And there was this thing going around where young people in middle school were wearing these little bracelets, and they were rubber bracelets and they had different colors, and someone decided to assign a sexual activity to each bracelet, each color, and in middle school. And so things were going on with kids, and I was just like, I don't understand what's going on. And they say when kids go to middle school, they leave their parents, they don't listen to their parents. And I said, no, we need to still be able to talk. We need to still be able to have these conversations. And so she was just shy of her 12th birthday. And I said, there's so many things that I want to introduce to her, so many things I want to upscale our conversations. And so it dropped in my spirit. There are 52 weeks in a year. And so I just started making the list of all the topics I want to talk about, and I ended up with a list of like 48 topics, 49 topics. And I said, okay, well, I guess pretty much every year, every week of her 12th year, we're going to have a conversation. And that is exactly what we did. Some conversations I had to repeat, so that made up for those extra months. But the conversations went from everything from spirituality to finances to sexuality to peer pressure to presenting yourself in the room, you name it, we talked about it. And there were two reasons why I really wanted to why I wanted to have these conversations, aside from what was, going on externally, and what just kind of freaked me out about middle school. But one is I wanted her to know that she could talk to me about anything,
Mm,
even if I stumbled through it, she stumbled through it, we cried through it. I come to me and we will talk about it. Right. And the other thing is, I wanted her to not be able to, I never wanted her to say, you didn't tell me this.
yes.
And as much as my mom and I were very close, there were just conversations we didn't have because conversations weren't had with her. And so I just wanted to arm my daughter with as much information, with the right information, even if we had to research things together. Like I said, some of the conversations, especially around sexuality and all of that, or just sex, they weren't comfortable. But I wanted her to know the facts, because as much as people like to think, well, if I talk about that, if I talk about smoking, if I talk about drinking, then that means I'm going to encourage her, or she's going to think, my child is going to think that it's okay. But if you give them the information, you give them the boundaries and the parameters, right? And they know what your expectations are. It's less what is the word, it's less mystical and like, oh, I gotta sneak to do this, and I gotta, it's like, oh, we've had these conversations, that's nothing big.
And you just armed them with direction. Even though it may not be, like you said, it was hard. But the
Yes.
thing about it is, if I give you the roadmap, it's still your choice to take the roadmap.
Right.
But you can't never say, as you just said, you didn't provide the map.
Right. Exactly, exactly. And so we would have these conversations, and we would have them in the car on long distance rides. We'd have them if she was sitting at the table doing her homework and I was cooking, and I would just throw out scenarios to her, or I would just say, or I would also ear hustle when she and her friends were in the car or they were around. I'm like, okay, what are they talking about? What's going on? All right, this is what we're going to talk about next. And I had the list. I carried the list in the car with me, and I would check off. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about, we talked about this, and it got to the point where she would say, "Are we having another one of those conversations?" I said, "We absolutely are." And one of the greatest honors for me is that even today, while the conversations are definitely different at 30, we still have a very close bond because she knows no matter what, she can come to me. And
Mm,
so, and I want that for every parent, every guardian, auntie, uncle, whomever. I want that, even though this book is called Her 12th Year, because again, we had a daughter, and I only have girl stories. I've had people purchase the books who have boys because like they need to know about these things too. They
mhm.
need to have these conversations. And I am finding now, you know, everything begins and ends with a conversation.
I promise
It
you.
can be a good conversation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just say communication. I'm no,
Yeah. So if we open it up and we talk to them, because they're going to be thinking about, oh, should I cheat? I remember one of the stories. Um, so the book is written in short story format. Let me go there. The short book, and so I introduce the topic. I define it, and then there's a quote or two in there from a famous female, and then I give a little commentary, and then there's a Kamaria story. Our daughter's name is Kamaria, so there's a Kamaria story, and then at the end of it, there are activities. So let's say if we're talking about peer pressure, the activity might be, when it was a time when you felt you were pressured. How did you handle it? Would you handle it the same way again? And it's some people will give the book to their girl to read it, but again, it's meant to create conversations. It's meant to solidify a bond and create memories. Oh, remember when we talked about this and we cried? Remember, I was so scared. Remember, whatever it was. And then there also is also a space to journal in there. So I mean, I've had people who have daughters as young as 9. It's really meant for 10 to 15-year-olds, but I've also had 18-year-olds purchase the book because they're like, I didn't have these conversations, you know. And it's I want to create a community within the home for people to talk, for families to talk and connect.
And it's important because I'm 42. My parents was older, so a lot of things, kind of like you just said, my parents didn't teach me, didn't talk, didn't we
Right.
didn't have conversations about this. But we are, in hindsight, everything is 2020.
Hmm.
You can look down through your life and see where conversations you wish somebody was there to have given you. You're technically talking to the younger you
You're
while you
right.
were talking to her, but you realize that she's in need of it.
Hmm.
And I think anybody can actually, like you said, men should be able to read this book and be able to know how to communicate with their boys or with their
Hmm.
younger girls. Uh,
Right.
it's almost a unisex book, even though you're talking to your daughter from your experience. If you never put these guidelines and these roadmaps in place for the next person, it leaves them to wander, to make mistakes, or I ain't even gonna say make mistakes, choose choices that are unwise. But what you decided to do
Right.
was give her a choice.
Hmm.
You can go left, but I'm gonna teach you what's right and which route you should go. However you
Right.
decide to go, I gave you the roadmap.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And especially dads with daughters,
Mhm.
because when they're younger, I remember like, I was my dad's sidekick, right? We used to build things and he taught me how to shoot hoops and throw a knife into a tree and do all these things, right? Uh, and as I got older, And then I'm interested in boys and, all this other stuff. And he's like, oh, come on, but I want to hang with my friends, or I want to hang with my boyfriend by the time when the time came when I was able to have one. And I remember having some situation with a boy, and I was like, well, how come he doesn't this? And I was asking my mom, and she said, why don't you ask your father? And I looked at her like, huh? She said, he was a boy, right? I was like, oh. And I was so nervous, Carlos. I was like, how am I going to be able to talk to him? What is he going to think? What is he? And so I did. I stumbled my way through it, but I had the conversation with him. And it was, and it was pretty good. He gave me some advice, and some things he just looked at me and just kind of shook his head and was like, I don't know. But truly, dads are a girl's first love,
Yeah.
right?
And
And it's
the same is the opposite.
right, right. And it's so important for dads to know you can have these conversations. I know some dads are like, oh, especially when it comes to a girl getting her cycle, and that's
Have the
mom's territory.
conversation.
No, it's not. This is nature. This is
Mm-hmm.
natural. And if you tell them, if you explain things to them, because there probably is going to become a point where she's going to say, Dad, I need you to take me to the store. And Dad's going to be like, why? I'm watching the game, or why I'm hanging out, or why I'm fixing this, or I'm doing whatever. I'm taking a nap. Like, I need to go to the store. Can you just take me? And Dad's going to be saying, why, why? And I started my period. I started my cycle. I got to get something. And the good girl is going to be just as embarrassed, but it's a natural thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they should be able to have a natural conversation. Another thing, I started saying this before I got into the format of the book, but I remember my daughter texted me one day. I was at work and she was at school. I'm like, why am I getting a text from her at school? And she's like, have you ever cheated? I just need to know. And I'm looking at my phone like, what is this about? And basically, she had cheated. She had gotten caught, and she came up with some really lame excuse why she cheated. But I said, you know what? Get off your phone, go back into class. We'll deal with this when we get home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we did. But at least she knew, like, because she was pretty sure, and there was a sub there, and she thought the sub was going to call me. So she wanted to get to me before they got to me, which was always a thing. Like, you do something out there, you better tell me before somebody else tells me, before the streets tell me. I need to know about it. And she knew that she could come and tell me, as scared as she was, right? But just being able to have that kind of connection is a wonderful feeling. Even when we misconnect, you know, it's we still keep trying, we still
Mm-hmm.
keep talking, and it is a wonderful experience that I want for every parent, every girl to know you have a safe space to come and talk.
It's the same thing with us and God.
Mm,
While yes, God already understand and know everything, every mistake you about to make, He don't want you to go so far down the road that you ain't communicating with Him.
yeah.
He wants you to know that, look, I got you no matter what road you take, but I need you to communicate with me, because if you listen to my voice, that soft, still voice, if you read the word and get to know who I am, you'll understand that I am a forgiving person.
Mm-hmm.
I am all that you're gathering throughout your human experience, but I am also your father who take care of you and work to get you in the right direction. And this is
Yes.
where our lives are. When me hearing about your book or hearing about your relationship with your daughter is me understanding how God treats us
Mm-hmm.
and how He wants us to communicate, how He wants us to be in relationship. Because
Yes.
life is about relationship. What you learn to do and what you are given in your book to parents, and not just the parents, but the youth, is relationship.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the foundation of your household, of who you are, your essence. When you learn to truly get into this, a lot of young
Mm-hmm.
parents need to hear about your book. So before I go too far, I do want you to do something.
Okay.
Also share with them where they're going to be able to find your book, where they will be able to find you, because people want to reach out and probably have more conversations with the author themselves. And then I need a word of wisdom from you.
Okay. Okay, all right. So, my book, Her 12th Year, She's Not So Little Anymore. It's a coaching guide for raising healthy tween girls. And this is actually the second edition. And in this edition, I added a subchapter on grief because it's difficult for adults to talk about grief and manage through it. But, think about our children. And it also has the activities in it. And it can be found, you can go to her12thyear.com. So, www.her 12thyear.com. It can also be found on Amazon. You can go to dhelevation.com. That is my company. So yeah, so that's where you can find it. You can also email us at info at D as in David, H as in Henry, the word elevation, ELEVATION.com.
And y'all, please go get this book. If you got young daughters, if you got young men, you need this book because I would like to say the model is still the same, whether you
Yes.
are male or whether you have a male or a female child. But
Mhm.
the thing about it, learn how to use the model because the model is important. And Dr. Sistrunk has the model. She has the information and she only want to share her book. So then we get the information to raise better children or better adults. I put it that way.
Yes,
So,
yes, that's right.
word of wisdom.
This is being a parent, a guardian, mentor, or a nurturer of a child is one of the most rewarding and challenging um, experiences we will ever have. And it is so worth having the conversations. It's so worth opening the door for them to talk to you, for you to hear them, and for them to know that you heard them.
Mhm.
It shapes so much of who they are, just like it shapes so much of who we are. And I just want to encourage you as an adult, think back to when you were a tween, a teenager. What did you need? Who did you need to show up for you and to be there and to listen and be that person for the young one in your life?
Thank you for that. This is also what I think we as people need to do for not just our children, but all. Because we show up, technically you are the hero or the main character in your story. And you are the supporting cast member in everybody else's. And if you stand up and be, as she just said, be the person you wish you had, you become a superhero in somebody else's and you get to take them to the next level as she said that she is doing now. So I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for the
Thank
interview. I
you.
thank you for the time and the moment that you have just spent with me. Each and every one of y'all, please, once again, go get a book. It's vital for our community, for anybody's community, but especially ours. So this is Art and Hustle. This is Miss Dr. Lisa Sistrunk, and my name is Carlos Walker. Signing out.